Hi, I'm Rochelle and I'm glad to be back. I'm going to be talking to you about circles. In the past, I have mentioned that I sit in sacred spaces, and that's what I've been referring to. So these practices are deeply rooted in the traditions of indigenous people, and I'm so grateful for their wisdom. The reason for a circle varies as your needs vary. It could be for healing, which is restorative justice practices use it. It can be for community building, conflict resolution, for celebrating, you name it. I got introduced to circles when I first got here, probably within the first 2 weeks. And thinking back, I have to say that probably who I am today is greatly influenced, mostly influenced by the circles I've been participating in. So a circle starts out with people, and through ritual, you create this sacred space. And the largest component of that, the reason for the circle is without tables, without being blocked by anything. So we have the opportunity to listen to each other and to speak to each other. And to do that, how we facilitate that is through a talking piece. And it could be something as simple as a stuffed animal. And the talking piece only goes in one direction. It doesn't get tossed across the circle. It doesn't go passed back and forth amongst people. So you have to wait for it to be your turn again. And there's so many reasons I like the process. For one, that shy person who doesn't speak up because we talk over them. Well, now they have an equal opportunity to speak. Everyone gets an opportunity. If you want to pass when the talking piece comes to you, that's perfectly fine. And in your being quiet, you're still communicating something. I love the fact that it goes around again so that if something's not complete, you get to share that. If I hadn't participated in the power of it, I don't think I would believe it. Honestly, within hours, not days, you've created such a safe space for people to be authentic and to share themselves. I've been in circles where people have said they have never shared this particular thing that they're sharing now. They never found the voice. They didn't know who they could share it, how they could share it, for whatever reason. I've had people have shared their griefs, their angers, frustrations, their dreams, their doubts, their saying, I didn't know. And I'm sharing it because that's how we're going to change the world. That's how the world is changing already. So give an example for myself. I was sitting in a circle, and the circle keeper just asked this very innocent, neutral question, said, what would you say to your 10-year-old today? And I'm still emotional. The minute she said it, my eyes started to tear up. By the time the talking piece got to me, I was crying. And all I could say was, I would tell her she's going to be okay. I didn't know I needed to hear that was a piece of healing. And what's so amazing is that everyone in that circle was participating on a level of vulnerability, of sacredness, because together we had that intention to create a safe space. I'm going to share a story of when I taught 6th grade, and I wish now I can complete what happened back then. So I was, as I mentioned, I was teaching 6th grade. I was just standing in the front of the room. I don't remember anything. I would tell you if there was anything going on that was different. And all of a sudden, one of the boys got up from the chair and body slammed me. So it was a shock to my system. I was pushed back. All the kids, like 33 kids in the room, we were all like, what happened? And all that I knew, something got triggered and something was terribly wrong. That this child was under distress and I didn't know why. My next reaction was just to press the button because anything happens in the classroom, the principal needs to know. And so he came, he took me out with the child and said, what do you want? And I said, the child and I hadn't even spoken yet. It was just, he needs to get home safe, and I want him back in school tomorrow. And, I had the options of suspending him, even expelling, and that was never on my mind. I trusted and loved my children. It was like, no, he has to be back in school. So that part I got. I went back into the classroom, and I told the kids something, I don't know what's wrong, but he's going to be okay, and he's going to be back in class tomorrow. Your friend's going to be okay. And that's all I said. I didn't create a space for us to have a conversation, to process. There was a trauma just happened. And I just didn't know. It wasn't I was in denial. So the next day he comes back, and he's sitting at his desk as if nothing had happened. And then he gives me a letter that he had just written saying, "Thank you. I am so sorry for the trouble I've been working. I want to work harder. And the thing is, ever since my grandma passed, everything's been hard for me. My whole family is down, and nothing's the same since she's no longer with us." I didn't know his grandma had died, and I knew the family. I actually used to go over there because I was helping his mom to improve her reading so she could pass the test she needed for a new job she wanted. So even though I was in the room with her in her home, we didn't have these courageous conversations that I've been talking about in my last videos. And what I look back on that, I don't even think I called her to say I'm sorry for her loss. I have no idea where my head was during this whole thing. And I think back on it now that how wonderful if I had this tool, if I had this process of these healing circles, I would have sat the kids down, and we would have just shared whatever organically came out. Because what I've learned about circles, whatever needs to be said gets said. So I also know when you have some trauma, you're not thinking right. It doesn't matter if you're going back to work, it doesn't matter if you're going back to school. If you're not processing it, you're going to be a little off. And I've sat in circles with my kids before. Actually every day when I start school, we get into a circle, we move the chairs, all the distractions, and we say hi to each other, we introduce ourselves. So I got that far, but I didn't know about this intentional process. And what I know about my students, these kids, they would have thrived. They would have shared. It would have been amazing. So I'm keeping you informed as I stay informed. This is something we all need to look at because this is how we're changing the world. We're going to have this in every family, with all friends, all places of worship, all schools, all wherever there's two people or more. I mean, honestly, that's how I got to speak to the young man who shared about his experience in the car. If I hadn't had this experience, it would just have been, how can I intrude on him? How could I ask this then? But it was like, no, stories are important. People want to be heard. And so he and I created this safe space where he could share what was happening with him, and he trusted in me to share that with you. So this is what we have to do with communities that don't understand each other. It's not that they don't understand each other, they don't even know each other. So I'm so glad you're on this path with me. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating. Sending out, please be safe. Please be healthy. Sending out lots of love. Until the next time.